The Intercept has a story here about the predatory practices of Trump's attorney general pick and what he engaged in. So they break it down for us. OneWest Bank, which Donald Trump's nominee for Treasury Secretary Steve Mnuchin ran from 2009 to 2015, repeatedly broke California's foreclosure laws during that period, according to a previously undisclosed 2013 memo from top prosecutors in the state attorney general's office. The memo obtained by The Intercept alleges that OneWest rushed delinquent homeowners out of their homes by violating notice and waiting period statutes, illegally backdated key documents, and effectively gamed foreclosure auctions. OneWest already had a history of using false documents in foreclosures. A July 2009 deposition of Vice President Erica Johnson-Sek revealed that she, quote, robo-signed 6,000 foreclosure-related papers per week. All right, so here's why this is important. Trump wants this guy to be Treasury Secretary. So Trump wants this guy to have massive, massive influence over the economy. This guy's entire career was spent screwing people over. Like, that was his whole thing. That's his whole job. So he takes over a bank and calls it, changes the name to OneWest. And then his whole thing is, now I'm going to foreclose on everybody. So you know how we always spoke about during the subprime mortgage crisis and the Great Recession. Why are you bailing out Wall Street when you should be bailing out the people? You should bail out the people. Don't take all billions and billions of dollars. And actually, when all was said and done, it was trillions, over $14 trillion in a bailout for Wall Street. Why not take that money and bail out the people? They didn't do that. Well, Steve Mnuchin is one of the people who was responsible for going in the exact opposite direction, the exact wrong direction. This is the guy who, not only was he in charge of a company that was kicking people out of their houses, he was doing it in violation of foreclosure laws. So the way it works, there's a period. Okay, you need to give them X amount of notices to make a payment. And then if they don't make that payment and they're getting foreclosed on, well, then they still have, I think it's like a 90-day period in order to, try to make everything right. And what they would do is backdate documents, and they'd say, oh, look at that, you only have 3 days left. What are you talking about? I thought I had 90 days left. You got 3 days left. Now get the fuck out of your house. Now, it's actually worse than that, too, because there were some articles that talk about how OneWest was heavily involved with reverse mortgages, which means senior citizens were kicked out of their house. And again, they, as a matter of standard practice, standard operating procedure, they backdate documents, violate foreclosure law. And then the plot thickens even more because Kamala Harris was the Attorney General of California at the time, for no reason whatsoever, no stated purpose. She just dropped a case against them. People were calling for an inquiry. They're like, "What are you doing? You got to fucking look. These people are violating foreclosure law. I don't know what you're talking about. Go do something. Do something." And she's like, "Oh, anyway, let me not do that and say I did." Everybody shut the fuck up about that. So there might be some foul play going on behind the scenes with that too. So, I mean, this is a guy who, we covered the story a while ago, kicked a grandma out of her house over a 27-cent discrepancy in a payment. And this is a person who Trump looked at and he was like, that's the kind of person I want in control. That's the kind of person I want as Treasury Secretary. He was a Goldman Sachs partner for years. All this talk about draining the swamp. This is the exact opposite. This is building a whole new swamp. This is building a dozen new swamps with all of his terrible, terrible picks. So this is absolutely, positively indefensible here. And it really is a shame because in some ways this is just taking the mask off. When you look at a guy whose track record and whole history is to be super greedy and to be a Wall Street kind of guy, and then now he's picked for a position in government, what do we expect to happen? Like, what do you expect to fucking happen? You really think policy is going to be geared towards the little guy when they spent their lives screwing over the little guy? No, they're going to do policy in favor of themselves and their buddies. And it's going to be a corrupt circle jerk. This is the establishment on steroids and human growth hormone. So you've been took. If you fell for Donald Trump's anti-establishment rhetoric, Steve Mnuchin alone, this pick alone, blows up that whole narrative. So some people say, well, why are you mad? This foreclosures happen and you're gonna, somebody's got to do that dirty work. I get it. Foreclosures exist and sometimes you got to foreclose on a house. It is what it is. But number one, they didn't have to violate foreclosure law to do it because that shows they really do. They're really just greedy and they care more about that over human lives. And it really is this rapacious, amoral corporate machine that just steamrolls everything in front of it. So there's that angle of it. But also, I think the bigger point is, so if that guy wanted to get into that line of work, I'm going to be the douchey fucking OneWest banker, CEO, owner, who does all these shitty things to people. If you want to get into that work, great. Stay in that line of work. Stay in the line of work of I'm a greedy prick. For you to get involved in government, that you have nothing to offer in government. Or you've spent your career doing shitty things. So, okay, keep doing shitty things. But even though you should be locked up for violating the foreclosure laws, because, if you rob a convenience store, you might get locked up for a few years. But if you kick people out of their houses early and violate foreclosure laws, you get to be Treasury Secretary. No, so you should be locked up for that. But you have nothing to offer in government. So it's a matter of you're picking people who not only are not qualified, their whole existence and purpose in life was to do the opposite of what the job is supposed to be in government. It's like picking Rick Perry to be the head of the Department of Energy, which Trump did. Rick Perry doesn't believe in the Department of Energy. He said he wants to eliminate it. So why would you pick that guy? Because that's the point. He doesn't believe in the Department of Energy. He doesn't believe in the EPA. He doesn't believe in the FDA. So you appoint people who are going to handcuff those agencies and make them do nothing to leave those agencies. Now, for Treasury Secretary, you think he believes in having a Treasury Secretary that fosters an economy that's good for regular people? No, he believes in fostering an economy that's good for him and his donors and his buddies. So that's why you pick Steve Mnuchin.